Well, hello, everyone. This is Keith with Positively Osceola. Thanks for being a part of our Positively Osceola Live. And today's Wednesday, but it's an exciting day because we get to speak to a friend of ours that we are honored to be able to engage with here and there, certainly throughout the month, doing a lot of different things in the community. But today we get to just kind of have a casual chat, and that is with Michelle Incandela, and she's with Draper Law.
Hi.
Close cameras today. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. Things are good.
Wonderful.
It's like no matter who you ask these days, the answer seems to be the same. It is crazy busy in the world.
That's true.
It's nuts,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. We're busy, but it's all good.
It is. It is. It seems like summer is already in the midst of our daily lives. It's hot.
It feels
I
that
did,
way.
it does. This morning I actually did a little. I asked Alexa what temperature in upstate New York was, and Alexa said 34 degrees.
Wow. Well, sure, it's not 34 degrees here in Osceola County.
Add 60 degrees. Yes, it seems like it's about 94.
It feels that way. Yeah.
It does. Well, we got a few people popping on, so I see no reason why we should not commence with the exciting activities today. Do you agree?
Sure. Yeah. Welcome everybody. It's nice to be here in an afternoon. Usually we're in mornings, so I feel a little more
Truth.
awake.
I'm still going to wake us up with one of those heavy picture videos real quick, so we'll make it official. Sounded good to you?
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. Well, again, I want to say welcome to everyone to Positively Osceola Live. Certainly didn't want to make light of of the blessing we have certainly to know you and Charlie, and so we want to officially welcome Michelle Incandela, attorney with Draper Law Office, a firm that's been in the area since 1984, and hard to even though so many people are moving into the area, I think people do. Know who you guys are because you're so active in the community. So again, welcome to today's show.
Thank you. Well, we love our community, so we're happy to be here, and it's always great to be on the show.
So for those folks who somehow haven't heard of you guys, why don't you just give us the lowdown of Draper Law Office, please?
Sure. So Charlie started back in 1984, and our primary focus is personal injury and family law. So Charlie and I are attorneys that help people who have been involved in accidents get their lives back together. And Linda Grzinski is our family law attorney, and she helps people who are going through the process of divorce and custody issues that surround family law. And yeah, we've been around since 84, and I've been here, I think, well over a decade, and just loving being in Osceola County and love being able to help the people of the community.
That's great. And honestly, we've done a number of things with you guys. Obviously, you and I know that. And so, like I said, we're super blessed to be able to work together so much and be out in the community. So,
absolutely.
One of the challenges I think people have, and I'll speak for myself. I think one of the challenges I have, and sometimes it is because we're all hustle and bustle so much. There are so many things that are going on in our daily lives, in business lives, in our families' lives. And it's hard to kind of get accurate information on certain things sometimes. And then, you pop on it into a news scenario and it's like, so when did that happen?
Right.
And you don't know how can we miss things, right? With this informed, I think we're so much more informed, we think, with what's going on in life. But in March, there was a new law passed from the Florida legislature, and governor signed off on it. And that is based on tort reform. So why don't you explain what that is, if you don't mind? Give us some information on what tort reform is, how that, what exactly happened in the state of Florida from your perspective, surely, and how that's affecting, or how that affected immediately people's lives, and then maybe how it's affecting our lives now, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I could talk for 4 hours straight without breathing about tort reform in Florida. So we're going to have to do a very condensed version and maybe just hit a couple of points.
Sure.
Because what's frustrating to me is that most people don't know about tort reform. They don't really know what a tort is, right? So like, well, what's a tort? How does it affect me? It's really civil wrongs, right? So when you think about a civil wrong, an action in civil where one person wronged another, but not a criminal action, lots of different types of scenarios fall under a tort reform in Florida. So health insurance, life insurance, car accidents, medical malpractice, lots of things come under that umbrella. And what happened recently is that the legislature pushed through this major overhaul, which I will just tell you was an absolute pure gift to insurance companies. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There is nothing about this that helps the people of Florida. There's this promise that it's the best thing because your premiums are going to go down. I'll tell you right now, your premiums are going to go down maybe enough for you to buy a loaf of bread, and not at Publix, probably at Aldi, because that's not going to happen. Insurance companies have billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, and no matter how much they cry and try to say that the reason they need all these reforms is because of all these frivolous lawsuits, which, by the way, is you people. When you have an auto accident and someone, but that's not your fault, and someone injures you or your family member, they're talking about you. When you have a legitimate claim because the hurricane damaged your roof and your house is becoming moldy because there's a big giant hole in there and the insurance company refuses to pay, that's you. And these are not frivolous claims. And that's a whole bunch of fabrication by the insurance company saying there's the reason why we need to do these things is because of all you frivolous law claim people. And it's frustrating to me because I help people every day who need my help because insurance companies refuse to do what they're contractually obligated to do. Okay. They're not fair. They're notoriously not fair. And you notice that with all these claims about how the insurance companies need help and they need reform and they need these frivolous lawsuits to be reduced, they always manage to post profits in the billions, right? So one, if you're looking for sympathy for the insurance companies, you're not going to get it from me. I'll tell you first off. But the problem is that they're also, because they have so much money, they have, I think it was over 400 lobbyists whose job it is to go to the legislature and push these reforms. And I think that the organizations who represent, who are attorneys who represent, people who have claims have maybe 10 or 20. So you have this massive amount of money behind pushing the legislature and making probably ample campaign donations and pushing this reform, which they claim is necessary for them to be able to survive, right? So, what does it do and who does it affect? It affects pretty much every tort claim in Florida. So life insurance claims, health insurance claims, auto accident claims. And some of the things that it does are it shortens the amount of time that you have to file a lawsuit. So what we call statute of limitations means that if you get into an accident on January 1st, you used to have 4 years from the date of that accident to file a lawsuit if you needed to. The legislature has shortened that to 24 months. They're doing that because they want to discourage people from bringing actions, but it's actually, in my opinion, going to create more litigation than it did before, because attorneys are going to file suit to preserve a client's rights in a claim that they would have held off on to resolve it, but now they're going to the safe side and file. And when the legislation came in, because of the negative impact it has on the way that you're allowed to bring evidence at trial, attorneys who had cases that were pending filed, which is why they had over 100,000 filings, I think, on March 24th, because attorneys are trying to protect their clients, with respect to the trial rules. But so one changes the amount of time. That does nothing to help the people. That's just a complete gift to the insurance companies. Again, they're trying to discourage you from bringing a claim. They're trying to say, well, you would have had a claim, but you didn't do what you needed to within 24 months, so your claim is barred forever. So very restrictive. And And Florida was a state that was really very geared towards, it's not really even in terms of the playing field. It really was siding towards the insurance companies. Having practiced in other states, I can tell there's a noticeable difference that if you're a plaintiff here in Florida, you had an uphill battle to begin with respect to how the laws are drafted. But this really just kind of puts the nail in a lot of coffins. And the sad thing is that I think that people, because the insurance companies also have so much money to spend trying to put that narrative out there that what they're doing or what's been done is really helping people and lowering these premiums. It's not the reality of it. The reality of it is that this is really going to hurt you when you have to deal with an insurance company. The people that call my office don't call my office for no reason. They call my office because they need help. Because the insurance companies are not doing the right thing. They're not acting fairly. They're not acting reasonable. They're not living up to the contractual obligation. Because remember, when you pay your insurance, you pay your premiums, most of us, diligently for years and years and years and years. And it's a contract, right? And the contract says, I'm going to pay you all this money each month, month after month and year after year. And then when something happens that's covered under this contract that says, if this happens, you have to pay for it, you should pay for it. But the insurance companies go, yeah, no, we're not going to pay for it. And that forces you to do what, right? To seek action, to hire an attorney, because you just can't manage, you can't get the situation resolved without one. So another really damaging part of this, and I think one of the most devastating parts, is that we can go back to like the 1800s. I think back in 1890, there was a situation where there were a lot of farmers in Florida, and farmers' widows, unfortunately, farming is a very dangerous profession, especially back in the and early 1900s. And it wasn't uncommon for a farmer to die, which meant that his widow and his family would be left with nothing, and they would starve and not be able to support themselves. So they would take out life insurance policies. What became a common act in Florida was that a farmer would pass away, and the widow would put her claim in for the $10,000 in insurance policy proceeds and say, my husband passed away, and pursuant to the contract, I'm entitled to this money for life insurance. It's how I'm going to live. And the insurance companies would go, yeah, well, you paid for $10,000. We're going to give you $7,500. And so what would happen is it became such a commonplace that the poor widow would have to now go hire an attorney. And even if the attorney got them to pay what they were supposed to pay, now she's already paid attorney's fees, and it's delayed the amount of time before she could get that money to support her family and her children. And this is when people couldn't put food on the table. And it became such a problem that the courts said, listen, insurance companies, you have to act reasonably. You have to be fair with people. And if it's reasonable for you to pay a claim, you need to pay it. And if you don't, and they have to hire a lawyer, then you're going to pay for that if they prevail. Because the insurance companies have lawyers at their disposal, right? You have billions and billions of dollars. You have insurance lawyers that work for you. The people don't, right? The people don't. So that gave some fairness to the situation. And the legislature has now removed that. So if you have a policy, a life insurance policy, maybe it's health insurance, and the insurance company was supposed to pay an X amount, and they just decide that they don't want to. You have to now hire an attorney, and even if you win, you're going to have to pay your attorney. So where's the fairness in that, right? Yeah. It's just one of the many, many things about this that is just people are not understanding the actual impact. That's just, like I said, that's just one of them. But all the different scenarios, the homeowners claims, life insurance claims, health insurance claims, so many different areas where the insurance companies were also notoriously not acting reasonably is just going to get so much worse. I can tell you that, just so much worse.
I had mentioned earlier that I was in a meeting shortly after that law passed, and it was somebody in the insurance business, and like they heralded it a big, huge win. And I think sometimes, and I mentioned it was coming from that one perspective, of course, and I said it respectfully. But what always seems to get me is we don't connect the dots as consumers. I think most people, things are busy, so you don't catch everything, like I was saying earlier. But it's amazing to me that we don't connect the dots as consumers, like I'm saying, because if you watch the news, if you've watched the news in April and even in May now, most of the media outlets are talking about insurance rates still, rising
Mm-hmm.
year over year. And you would think that, the whole claim on this was that it would reduce your typical, rates would come down. That's, shock not happening yet.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I said, we have short-term memory. We hear that claim, and then here we are now, and rates are still going up. And in Florida, it'll seem like about 12 hours from now, we're going to be back into the hurricane season. This weekend,
Right.
we've got most of the Emergency Operations Center, Kissimmee Utility Authority, a lot of the other agencies are putting together a before the storm 2023. We're right on top of hurricane season, and rates seem to be going upward still.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of lines up with what you're saying.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend folks do? I guess, if something happens, we do not take more than 3 or 4 breaths before we call you and say, hey, I've got an issue?
Yeah, I mean, so some of the things, there are some issues that I'm not going to be able to help with, honestly, that the legislature has just done. I mean, and let me tell you something. This is great legislation. It's amazing legislation for insurance companies. So if you own an insurance company, or you're a director of an insurance, you're sitting pretty right now. I mean, this is fantastic for them. So it's amazing. It's just really, really bad for the people. Right? It's bad for people who have to fight insurance companies. And the other thing they don't think about is that I heard a lot of talk about this is so good for businesses, so good for businesses. Well, businesses tend also to have insurance policies to protect them, and they pay their premiums too, to have the insurance do what they're supposed to do. So if the claim is made against them, the insurance company, if they should settle it, if it's a reasonable claim, and again, these are claims that insurance companies should pay, and they don't, that is going to leave the business just as exposed, right? As if you're an individual. There's nothing in this that favors the people and the businesses. I'll just tell you that right now. And another thing, and just to give you an idea of just like what would be the reason for this, Keith, it used to be that insurance companies, if there was a claim and they knew that they had to pay this claim, let's say there's an accident and that there's an at-fault party who had insurance and there's $100,000 and somebody was paralyzed, and they know absolutely their client was at fault and it's worth well more than $100,000, and they should give that $100,000 immediately, because it's the person that paid for that policy paid for the insurance company to protect them, right? So the insurance company used to have 30 days to pay that claim. Now they have 3 months. What's the purpose of giving the insurance companies up to 3 months to pay on a claim after the demand is made that they know they have to pay on? No doubt. I mean, think about how much insurance companies are going to make just off of that change, because they get to have the interest on all that money for 3 months. Now you times those claims on all the claims in the state, and that is just a gift of millions and millions of dollars to the insurance company for no other purpose. And what happens in the interim is that the people are not being protected. The one who paid the policy that the claim is being made against, that claim is not really being defended properly. And the person who is making the claim is getting very upset that this is a claim that should be paid and the insurance company is not, just because they're sitting on the money to make more money for themselves. Completely unfair.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I guess if the only thing you can do is contact your representatives and let them know how you feel about things. That typically after a legislative session, that is diminishing the amount of contacts. We speak to representatives in our area, and typically it drops off vastly. Communicating with our representatives drops off quite a bit after that legislative session is over for the year.
Sure.
I mean, they're still active in the community, most of them, and we applaud them that they are. But again, it's a place where there's a vacuum happens or a stall happens after that legislative session. So
yeah. And again, it's difficult to get the ear when you have 400 lobbyists for the insurance companies, just with unlimited funds behind them. And that's, again, part of the problem. And it's also the reason why, Keith, I don't know that it's people are uneducated. I just think that the insurance companies push these false narratives, right?
Right.
And that's what you just hear about. Where do you think you're hearing that from? It's the insurance companies are out there with their, trying to push that narrative. And that's what people hear. And they don't hear about the other side of it, the side that really, really affects them. But yeah, I mean, any questions, our office is here, and certainly we want to, it's a horrific thing to happen. And we're going to defend, the way we always have. We're going to advocate for our clients, as we always have, harder, stronger. This is just, it's frustrating, but it also kind of, we do what we do because we're helping someone. And this has been what we've done all along is fight. And we fight. And if I tell you, Keith, it's a fight. I fight insurance companies for my clients. Right. It is a fight to the smallest detail. And it's exhausting, but honestly, things like this, they sort of do reignite the flames, because it's so unfair to people that, obviously I want to do everything I can to protect my clients. And I'm going to be, advocating just as strongly as I did before, if not more, because it gets me so angry that people are left just high and dry like this, just really kind of burnt. It hurts my heart, honestly, to see what's happening. And it's, I'm gonna fight, and Charlie's gonna fight. We're gonna fight and do what we always did. It did get harder, though. It did get harder. So yeah, do not sit on something if you have a question or you think you have a potential claim. Do not wait, because the clock is ticking. It's ticking faster, and that hurts you. So get to an attorney as quickly as possible. Any questions that you have, and we're gonna do whatever we can.
I mean, certainly you and I are speaking right now, but I'm going to say this anyway. And I think what hit me when you were speaking was, so more now than ever, rely on, when you have times of need, rely on an experienced attorney, somebody who's been in this business. There are a lot of attorneys. Certainly we all know that. But relying on someone that has established themselves as a trusted, professional source for decades is probably, it's never been more important. So that would be my particular recommendation to folks. And, we know you, we count on you because of so much, but so there's the recommendation right there. I'm sure you're correct. We could, as you led in the beginning, we could easily do 4 hours.
Yes.
And, it would not be hard. You did breathe twice, though.
Yeah, there's a lot more really, really bad stuff that's in there that we didn't even get to touch. But those are those are just some main highlights. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, like you said, if you have any questions, go ahead and call 407-846-0075. Go to draperlawoffice.com and they will help you. So before we sign off, certainly one of the things we talk about sometimes is, and we did reference again, is your involvement with the community. And you've done so much over the years, whether it be pedestrian safety. I know Charlie and I were out. Certainly, we've gone out numerous times and trying to encourage people. Charlie, in his behalf, trying to encourage folks to watch out for crosswalk safety, pedestrian safety, driving, non-distractive driving as a general rule. But you guys in school district, you've been huge advocates for the school district. But maybe real quick, what you guys have started doing recently in the way of being advocates for the more than two-legged creatures on the earth, and that would be some of our fur friends. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what that is, if you would?
Yeah, so with you guys, and we're developing this great partnership with Animal Services of Osceola County out there in St. Cloud, trying to get the wonderful fur babies of our community, homes, permanent homes. Right now, the shelter is absolutely desperate for fosters because it's kitten season. So they're overwhelmed with these adorable little baby kittens, some of whom need bottle feeding. And they have a great foster program that we're involved with. I've been a foster, Charlie's been a foster, and we're getting our office involved in fostering pets, which some people don't know. If you can't maybe keep an animal because you either have too many of your own or you have other constraints in your life, but you can help them out temporarily. They are desperately seeking people who can keep some kittens and bottle feed some kittens. Some of them are real tiny, or just some older kittens until they're old enough to be adopted, which keeps the animals out of the shelter. It allows them to be in an environment that's happy and they're loved, and get them used to the sounds of an actual house. And then when they're adopted, it's a very easy transition. Animal Services pays for all the food and supplies, so it doesn't cost anything. It's just your
Right.
time and your love. And so if anyone can do that, that's a great way to get involved. But we also have a donation box in our office. So if anybody's in the area and wants to donate any items to Animal Services, they're always in need of lots of items, the dog treats, peanut butter, blankets, towels, all sorts of things. And maybe people in our Poinciana area don't or can't get all the way out to St. Cloud.
Right.
So they can just stop in our office and I'll show you, we're decorating a box that with all the puppies and kittens on it so that people know it'll be right in our lobby and they can just drop it off and we will take it over to Animal Services for them. And we're also getting involved in sponsoring some of the dogs and cats over there so that we can get them seen and get them noticed, get them into their forever homes. There's so much great work that they do that people really aren't aware of, and they think of it as really a negative place, but there's so many good things that go on there, and so many forever homes are found for these really great pets. So we're excited about that. Excited to have you on board with that also.
Yeah, it's great. And we love it. I mean, we've mentioned before, so many folks are moving in town. That's not a shocker for most people who've lived here for more than a week. So you see it every day, and that's a separate conversation for folks. But one thing we don't talk about enough, it seems, I know you do, and certainly Charlie does, is that with that growth, seemingly lots of animals are also either displaced or they're here, and like you said, there just is not enough homes. There aren't enough homes for the animals right now. So Osceola Animal Services finds themselves in situations, and it's up and down, but they certainly find themselves in situations where sometimes they just have a lot of animals. And again, we're all crazy busy, and maybe that's something that we just got to slow down and think about, because so many homes would bring such joy to these animals. And fostering is something I think is a wonderful program, because it takes that pressure off the Animal Service Agency for sure. So how do you like that particular experience? I know you've done that, Sid.
I have. I've fostered kittens and I'm currently fostering a puppy. And it's an amazing experience because you get to help them. It doesn't cost you anything. You get to play with your puppy and raise the puppy or the kitten, have them in your lives, and they're just cute, adorable, wonderful little creatures. And then if you can't give them a forever home, then they will be adopted out either right from your house, or you can return them once they're of age. It's been a great experience, and I want to do it again. We're going to do it again. It's just you can only do so many at a time. But it's also, I think so many of us, we love animals, but then we max out, right? We're just not allowed,
Right.
We can't have any more of our own. We can't keep any more. So this ability to help temporarily means that the shelter staff really does get a big break, because it's not just the number of kennels or the space available, right? It's also how the staff to be able to take care of all those animals. So the more that they can put into foster homes, loving foster homes, until they can find their forever homes, it helps them out immensely. And it really helps the animals, because they would much rather be in your living room than they would be in the shelter. It's just not, it's like being in the hospital or being home. Well, you'd much rather be at home in your own bed than any place else. So it's been fantastic, and it's really easy to get into the program. You just go to their website and you fill out the forms and watch the modules, and then you decided, if you want to foster puppies or kittens or cats or even full-grown dogs, whatever you can.
Right.
And then they will match the appropriate pets with you. It's been fantastic. It's so rewarding. It's so rewarding because you really get to help, even though you can't take your own. And everybody says the same thing. Oh, I couldn't do that because then I'd have to keep them. You would have the option, if you have the right circumstances, possibly to adopt. But the way that I think of it is, I always think of it that I'm pet sitting. I don't think of it as, oh, this is an animal that I might get to keep. I just think of it that I'm babysitting somebody else's pet. And that makes it much easier to, fulfill the goals of the program, which is to foster them and then to send them to somebody else's forever home. Kind
of like grandchildren.
Right. You get all the fun, and then you get to send them back.
that's a rumor. I don't have any yet, so we'll see when that day happens. But
that's a good analogy.
I guess so. Well, we do appreciate that you're doing that. Certainly more of us should be, and so we'll keep talking about that. And that just shows your passion for community in lots of different ways. And so we appreciate you talking about that today.
Well, absolutely our pleasure.
Well, again, I know we should get you going. I know you're busy today. And again, we do appreciate your time and appreciate that you'd share with us the information about, how tort reform has affected and will continue to affect folks at this point. If we flip that channel back in, we're likely to be here another 4 hours.
Easily.
Well, you know what? I hope you'll come back soon, and we will be able to share more about that, because that's something where we really need people to be thinking about it. I'm sure you agree.
Yes, count on it. My pleasure to be here. And everybody, Keith, have a wonderful afternoon. Everybody, Osceola County, have a great afternoon. And we're always here for you if you need us.
Awesome. Well, again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola. We thank you, Michelle Incandela with Draper Law Office in Kissimmee, Florida, and right across from the courthouse. If you don't know where they are, it is literally right across from the old courthouse square. Big, beautiful White House with a bright green new roof.
That's right.
Don Schmidt Roofing, little plug there for him.
That's right.
Did a great job. Looks good. So we will say goodbye to you as well until next time, and maybe Charlie as well. And I know we will see Charlie, possibly you, this week with one of our featured teacher events. So looking forward to that. Again, we thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
All right. Again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola. Again, with Michelle Incandela, attorney at Draper Law Office in Kissimmee, Florida, together making a positive difference in and around Osceola County. Thanks, Michelle.
Bye.